The movie opens with Pete asking us if we truly know the people we love, our families, our loved ones, even ourselves. He then says, once we know the truth, we'll change everything. In the next scene, we witness a brutal alien invasion. Bullets are raining down from the sky, and everyone is dying. Pete then wakes up from his sleep. He has been having these recurring nightmares of an alien attack killing all humans. The dreams feel too real to Pete, and they have been making him lose sleep for weeks now. His wife Alice tells him to see a doctor, but Pete refuses because he knows the doctors will just give him medication. Pete is also a father of 2 daughters, Hannah and Lucy, and since his nightmares started, he has been more distant from them too. Pete wants to fix that, so he decides to have a family night and tells his family he will leave work early and they can have fun. Pete is an engineer and works in a government facility. Sometimes his dreams briefly come even when he is working, and this time it makes him mess up on his work. His boss David also recommends him to go see a doctor and gives him a number. Later that day, Pete goes to the storage room to return his stuff before he leaves for work, but suddenly his dream comes back. This time he sees himself working as an electrician, and on the TV, he sees people arguing about AI. One of them is arguing that advanced AIs should receive human rights, but the other is arguing that AI will destroy humanity and that they should destroy it before AIs become capable. It then cuts to another scene, and we see Pete, Alice, and David walking through a battle-torn city carrying a gun. Pete then sees Lucy and Hannah crying because their mother died. Pete then wakes up from his dream, and when he checks his watch, hours has gone by. He rushes home, but both his daughters are already asleep. He tells Alice what happened and promises to go to the clinic. The next day, Pete goes to the clinic, and in the waiting room, he talks to a guy named Chris. Chris asks Peter if he also sees the dreams and says that they are not crazy. He then tells him if he goes to the doctor's office, they will just erase his memories. After hearing this, Pete decides to not go into the doctor's office and returns home. That night, Alice is throwing a party, and instead of talking to the guest, Pete stays at the balcony and watches the sky through a telescope. He starts seeing blinking lights in the sky, but he doesn't tell anyone since he knows no one will believe him. After the party ends, Pete's friend Ray joins him at the balcony. Ray has been sent by his wife Samantha to convince Pete to seek help. Alice is upset with Pete, and if this issue is not resolved, their mirage is in trouble. While the guys are talking, they see a strong lightning. Pete first thinks he is the only one seeing it, but Ray has also seen it, and he gets freaked out too. They then see a spaceship coming down from the sky, and then boom, a very strong shock wave that comes from the sky hits them and throws them into their room. Pete gets up and sees spaceships raining down from the sky. The aliens have arrived, and they are in full attack mode. The aliens start blowing up the buildings and kill everyone they find. Everyone is in a panic mode, but Pete remembers Hannah has left with Ray's daughter Megan earlier, so he and Ray go to find them while the rest hide in the apartment. Paul and Ray see all the dead people on the ground as they run through the building to find their daughters. Luckily, they find Hannah and Megan stuck in an elevator but unharmed. They get them out of the elevator and run back. The guys split up and agree to meet up with the whole family at the roof. Pete and Hannah reunite with Alice and Lucy, and they get ready to go out. Pete remembers seeing David in his dreams, so he figures that they need to go to his workplace. Suddenly, they start hearing footsteps, so they barricade their door. The aliens have arrived at their door and start shooting through it. Alice hides Lucy and Hannah in their closet, but Lucy goes to the living room to find her toy. Alice and Pete then try to hold the door, but the alien breaks the wall, so they also run back to the closet. The alien enters the home and starts looking around. He then sees Lucy hiding under the table, holding her toy. He then comes close to her, but he doesn't attack her. Pete and Alice then hit the alien on the head and knock him out. They then steal his gun and run to the roof, where they find Rhea and his family. As they look at the city, they see it has been all occupied by the aliens and the buildings have been destroyed. Alice then remembers that there is an underground tunnel that can take them to Pete's workplace, so they agree to do that. But before they could get out of the building, they get noticed by an alien spaceship which shoots directly at them and ends up killing Ray and his whole family. Pete and his family survive the attack, and he manages to take out the aliens guarding the entrance of the building, and they all make it out of the building safely. They then slowly go to the entrance of the tunnel. Pete opens the door, and he first gets Hannah in. Next is Lucy, but as she walks to the door, she gets seen by another spaceship that aims at her. Alice then grabs Lucy and jumps into the tunnel just before the spaceship shoots them. Pete then asks if everyone is okay, and everyone is except Alice, who injured herself while jumping in. A metal has stabbed her on the abdomen, and she is losing blood fast. Pete then holds her and they start making their way to his workplace. On their way, Alice gets very weak and asks to lie down. She then tells Pete to protect the girls. The girls start crying as they realize their mom might be dying, but Pete tries to calm them down. Suddenly, Pete is attacked by the alien that attacked them in their home. The alien has been tracking his gun, which Pete was carrying. The alien has the surprise, but Pete actually manages to overpower him and beat him up. He then points the gun at the alien but hesitates to kill him. The alien then takes off his helmet, and Pete sees the alien looks like a human too. Confused Pete makes the alien carry Alice, and they make it to his workplace. They are then let in by David and his men. Alice is immediately taken to a doctor, and they try to save her life. David tells Pete that they knew this day was coming and reveals that the government building is actually a military base for the defense. By this time, the aliens have taken over the whole city, and now they are attacking the base. David then orders an evacuation to the train station. The doctor then tells Pete he can't do much because they don't have equipment here, but then the alien says that he can save Alice. David thinks the alien is lying, but the alien reveals that he has studied everything about them before he came so he can operate on Alice. Pete then decides to stay with Alice and the alien, and he sends Lucy and Hannah with David. The alien is then given a small knife and makes an incision on her abdomen. He then goes deep and takes out a tube from her body. Pete is confused why there is a tube in Alice, and when he looks closer, he sees Alice is an AI. Pete is shocked, but the alien, who is actually a human, asks him how he didn't know he was an AI. He then tells him Alice needs another power source and instructs Pete on how to make an incision on his chest. Pets then cut off his skin only to reveal AI tech inside him. The human, who is named Miles, then plugs him and diverts power to Alice. As Pete is plugged in, he starts fully remembering 50 years before Earth was controlled by humans and synthetic AIs were created to do specific work. Pete was an electrician and Alice was a janitor. They both worked in the same building but never interacted before. We're taken back to the conversation on TV. The man and woman are arguing on what should be done with the synthetic AIs. The man is afraid that the AIs are gaining consciousness, and he believes once they become full sentient, they will turn on humans. The woman argues killing the AIs is genocide, but he argues they are tools, not humans. As the days go by, the guy's opinion starts getting shared by the population, and protests start erupting all around the world. People are scared of AI, and they want them gone. So governments decide to wipe out AI, and they send the military to destroy them, but what they didn't realize was that AIs like Peter had already gained consciousness, and they started defending themselves. Pete saves Alice from getting killed, and every AI band together and fight off the humans. They even start winning the war, so humans decide to evacuate the planet and go to Mars. Pete and Alice find Lucy and Hannah on the street. Their parents are dead, so they decide to adopt them. Although humans were gone for now, the AIs knew they would be back one day, but most AIs still couldn't live with the fear, so leaders like David created the memory wiping program. Almost all AIs, including Pete, get their memory wiped and replaced with good memory. Pete was given a wife, Alice, and 2 daughters, Lucy and Hannah. From that moment, they lived as a family and forgot everything that happened before. Back to the present, Pete wakes up. Alice has been stabilized, but she is still unconscious. Pete asks Miles why he is helping them. He tells him that since he was a kid, they were told that AIs were savages, but he has seen that they are not. He also says that he was not told he was going to kill children. Alice then wakes up, and she has also remembered everything. At the same time, the humans have broken into the facility, so Miles tells Pete to run away, and tells him he will hold up the military as much as he can. Pete and Alice then start to run to the tunnel as they are getting chased by the human soldiers. Meanwhile, everyone is boarding the train and getting ready to leave. Lucy and Hannah refuse to go without their parents, but they get dragged and put in the train too. Pete and Alice then reach the train just as it starts to leave and the train stops for them. Lucy and Hannah run out to them and hug them. The human soldiers also arrive at the train and start shooting at them, but David and his team take them out. While the train is moving, Pete and David talk. David tells him they are going to a safe zone so they can gear up and fight back. He also tells him everyone's memory of the past is going to get revived so they understand what they are fighting for. In the last scene of the movie, we see Pete sitting with his family, and in a narration, he tells us that he knows who he is and knows who his enemy is. He then says that he is not that different from humans, and that if everyone realized that both can have a future, and with that, the movie ends.